Good morning. Welcome to today's webinar. This webinar belongs to our series of webinars presenting the results of the Living Co-Creation workshops led by industry. To give context to this webinar, I would first like to give you a brief introduction into our project Living Innovation. So, Living is an initiative started by 14 partners from all over Europe, including major industry leaders, civil society, and research organizations. We have joined forces to co-create more responsible approaches to innovation in the areas of smart homes and smart health. Within the Living project, 20 co-creation workshops will take place in 5 European countries in 2019 and 2020. Those workshops have already started, and they seek to engage industry representatives, lead users, and citizens at eye level. Their aim is to develop solutions together that at the same time satisfy user needs, tackle societal challenges, and create new business opportunities. You can find more information about the project and take part if you wish on www.living-innovation.net. If you have any questions regarding it, don't hesitate to get in touch with us via info@living-innovation.net. So the webinar today presents the results of the Living workshop led by Telefonica at the end of June 2019. This workshop was the first of 2 co-creation workshops taking place in Madrid with the goal of improving the quality of life for people at home through new IoT solutions, so Internet of Things solutions and services. The first workshop sought to identify routines and specific needs of people in their homes that could then be transposed into new services offered by Telefonica. This webinar, presenting the results of that workshop, is titled IoT, Internet of Things, Predictable Technologies from Messy Life. Before we start, I would like to introduce you to our featured presenters today, Luis Galindo, Julián Heredia, and Rainer Kuhn. Luis Galindo is founder and head of Innovation 2.0 at Telefonica, where he has promoted the implementation and deployment of the open innovation model that is generating new relevant revenue streams in several areas like security, machine-to-machine, or e-health. He has been developing and has implemented successful digital transformation programs for more than 7 years. He has also written more than 20 articles in scientific journals, as well as different books. His research focused on the area of social innovation to bring innovation to persons with disabilities, older people, and people with low income. Julián Heredia has developed his professional career always linked to the world of technology and IT. He has a math background and many years of experience with various technologies, environments, and disciplines. This has allowed him to have a broad view of the resources and opportunities that technology can offer to give added value to companies. Recently, he has been working on big data and artificial intelligence projects, and he continues to work with management information systems. Finally, last but not least, Rainer Kuhn studied sociology and political science at the University of Stuttgart. Since 2010, he has been working as a researcher and project leader at Dialogik and Sirius within the University of Stuttgart. And he is currently finishing his PhD on consensus building processes and methods. At both institutes, Rainer carries out research in the field of participation, engagement, and consensus building processes and methods. And Rainer also has wide-ranging experience in planning, organizing, and facilitating engagement processes. Before we start, I would just quickly like to make you aware that the webinar is being recorded and will be sent to you in the coming weeks. If problems arise with audio or video during the webinar, please use the chat box to inform us, and we will try to get back to you as soon as possible. At the end of the webinar, we will also have some time for Q&A for attendees, so please feel free to ask questions anytime using that chat box or sending us your questions via info@living-innovation.net. However, you're also welcome at the end of the webinar to ask your questions directly to our experts using your microphone. So with that, I would like to pass on to Rainer, to Luis, and to Julián. Welcome to you all.
Thank you, Teresa. Hello to everybody. So I'm starting to talk a bit about responsible innovation, which is a main part of our project. And yeah, um, first of the slides, please can you change, Teresa? Thank you. So where did we start with responsible innovation? What's being responsible? So the first thought was just to start with an innovation which is for the society. This really changed to when you want to do something for the society, you need to talk with the society. So the current understanding, and which is a main part of responsible innovation, is doing innovation with society. So this leads to engaging societal actors, which is a most common part and the most important part of responsible research and also for the innovation. So when you think about innovation and involvement and engaging actors, you can think about two reasons for doing it. And I think it's two main reasons which are really important to involve societal actors. And this is one, democratic reasons. So having citizens which have a say on needs, on products and innovation agendas is a good thing, thinking about democratization of the European Union, but it has a second big reason, which is instrumental. So if you include societal actors in your innovation process, you have more societal knowledge, you have the experience, you have new ideas, capacities, and also higher awareness of science and technology with the citizens together. So please the next slide, Teresa. So when we do responsible research and innovation, it's really based on principles. There are four pillars of responsible innovation, which is one pillar is inclusive innovation, which really means to involve diverse stakeholders inside the innovation process. Then you have the anticipatory pillar to include new perspectives, and this is really important. Um, just thinking about how society reacts to your innovations and your products. You need to think reflexes. This special about ethical assumptions, and you need to be responsive. So change needs to be according to public values when you want to be successful. And you have the four pillars, and when you want to do the four pillars, you really need engagement, because remember the first slide, when you want to do it with society, you need good methods and good structure to involve citizens and lead users in the innovation process. And that's what we do in the living labs and the workshops. Um, yeah, and responsible research and innovation means to us in the live-in projects to orientate innovation activities towards solving the grand challenges of society. Um, we have a lot of challenges today, and it's about energy, it's about climate. So if you want to orientate the innovation, you need to connect to the citizens and the lead users. You can develop new technologies, products, services, business models, and systems that are socially acceptable and desirable. There are a lot of examples where it didn't work because citizens and lead users weren't included, like the Google Classes. They had a lot of costs with this innovation, and the people don't like it. So if they had talked to the people first, they can reduce sunken costs. So how to do this? It's co-create innovations, and we try this in the labs and the workshops together with the people affected by them. You will hear it in the first example from our Telefonica workshop. And if you anticipate everything, then you can, yeah, um, really have better products and innovations which are really connected to the people. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. I'm Luis Galindo. Well, let me introduce what we do at Telefonica and what's the workshops results that we will share here. So, okay. I will talk about how is innovation and what is innovation for Telefonica, what is IoT at Telefonica, what we are doing at IoT in the way that the workshop that we ran in Madrid was focusing in IoT daily life. And then we will talk about the workshop and the next steps because this is a process that we will follow after the summer. Talking about innovation at Telefonica, well, here you have some figures about the Telefonica innovation capabilities. As you can see here, our investment in R&D and I are huge. In the last year, we invested 6 billion in these issues. If we talk about the investment in R&D, last year was a real very good year for us in the way of the investment, and usually we are the second or the third operator over the world that we invest in R&D. One of the KPIs that we use for let's say the return of investment of the R&D are the patent portfolio and the registered patent that you can see here. Okay. What are the main objectives of Innovate at Telefonica? Well, mainly are three pillars. The first one is, of course, enhancing the Telefonica results in the way of improve the revenues as a private company, looking for new products and services that could be accurate, could be interesting, and could cover necessities in the different societies where we are present. Of course, also we work trying to improve our internal efficiencies. This is something that, or we are talking about services that are not commercialized, but on the other hand, what they provide is new savings due that we change the way of we do. For example, we are in the process of automation and we are reducing or we are changing tasks that usually are done by employees to with software or machines. Well, another of the pillars in order to work or to be innovative, or we look in the innovation, is to look for the trends globally. In a global world that we are, trends are moving faster than we can foresee. So we look for these trends in the different innovative process that we run. And the third one is the talent that is quite important. At the end, Telefonica is nothing more than the sum of all the employees that work for Telefonica. So we look for increase the talent in order to engage with people working outside. We have a balance of innovation between internal innovation and open innovation. So we work in both issues. Internal innovation usually provide us for new products and services, but we realized years ago that the world is global and there is innovation in any part of the world. There is, as I usually say, the innovation has been democratized. So what we see is different innovative service, innovative startups coming from any different countries, even for those that are developing countries. So we decided to create different open ecosystems, working with entrepreneurs, startups, working with investors, with VC. We will see later that we have our own VC and private and public organizations. But the basement of both innovations are the responsible research innovation. We consider that RRI is inside any innovation process. Why? Because from the company, we desire to move forward the different societies where we collaborate. So we look for new services, but always improving the digital life of the people that in the different countries where we operate. So for us, as was presented by Rainer previously, RRI is key and is considered in all the innovation processes, both internal and open, let's say, external processes. Well, talking about internal innovation, we divide, or we are focusing in the process of 4 phases that we call the lean elephant process. The phases are the pre-ideation, the ideation, the stage gating. So we create a proof of concept or beta, and the 4th phase is the deployment. This is quite aligned with the agile methodology and with the lean methodology. Usually we spend or we test different methodologies, and with the living project, as we will see later, we are testing a new co-creation process. Talking about open innovation, here you can see the different initiatives that we have launched, and they are all of them. They are active from 2010, where we created Think Big. In 2011, we created Wild, this incubator, Talentum for grants for involving people, brilliant people with the company, or Innovation to the Top, that is the initiative that I lead. Amerigo, that was launched in 2012, is a VC where it's not a Telefonica VC, because there are different partners inside. We promote and we open to other partners. Or Open Future, that is a crowd working spaces that we have around 70 operating spaces in Europe, Latin, Asia, and America. And recently, in 2015, we created Going Night with other operators like Orange and Intel in order to bring startups more focused in telco assets. Well, talking about IoT at Telefonica, well, our IoT vision is completely from the connectivity that is our core assets till the solution, the end IoT solution. We have been working in the different layers. We have our own management connectivity platform, our device management, and the different data collection platforms. For example, in the case of a Smart City Fireware, this is a platform that was created by us and other partners in an European project 2-3 years ago. Well, Smart Cities strategy is based on Fireware, and as you can see here, we work in all the layers from the sensors that is not, of course, are not from us. We buy this kind of sensor, but we work in the SDS, managing the different devices, the smart end-to-end that is managing the different connectivity lines, and the Telefonica Smart Cities platform that is or was based on the 5-word project in order to provide different solutions. We are running several pilots here in Spain and also in other European countries for smart cities. An example of a service that we are offering is the digital keys. That is, as the name is a key digital where you can open, for example, a door of a room in a hotel. This is a hospitality. Or recently, the Movistar car that is a service for the car, creating a Wi-Fi inside the car, but also offering additional services like an emergency call in case of accident, and the diagnosis and communication with the garage. So this is an additional example. Or trackers, that is an applications that we offer for the mass market, where we can locate, based on IoT, different issues like people, like animals, things, car, whatever. Well, and talking about the first workshop in Madrid, IoT, the name of this workshop is IoT in daily life. The role with this workshop was to co-create in a different way, let's say in a longer way than usually. In fact, this is the first workshop that we did, and we will run another additional in Madrid after the summer, and also one more in Barcelona in October. The workshop was run in the UX lab. Here you can see here the photo. This is a flat that we have in the 11 floors in our original headquarters in Gran Via, in the downtown, where we have kitchen, living room, dining room. So this is something that we use for user experience of the different services, and in the case of this workshop, we use for running the workshop. What were the objectives of this workshop? Well, the idea was involve all kind of people, and from 18 till 80. Because IoT is or will be more and more usual, and the idea of the workshop is to improve daily life of any people. In the case of this workshop, is based on the Spanish society, and let's say in the case of Spain, more close to Madrid, the capital. Well, the idea is to improve the quality of life and of daily life of those people. So what the goal of this workshop is to get information of different routines that will be available in 2030 in order to provide IoT devices, IoT services that could be interesting for them. The third objective is to identify these routines at home, trying to provide these technological solutions. Well, we did, here you have the recruiting process, the idea is, or what we did is to invite people with flyers, porters, and online channels in different universities, in different web pages, also Facebook pages, and also working with different associations. Those that were interested in participating, they were signing through associations in the case of elderly people, or sending an email to us. And what we did with all the people interested is to contact them, most of them by email, but those that were not having an email address, as most of the elderly were contacted by phone. Then we ran different face-to-face meetings with a coffee in order to explain more about the process, and getting more information from the people interested in order to know if the profile is were suitable for the workshop. And we select participants, and when we launched this, what we decided is to work with with diversity, as much as diverse as possible. So in age, also economically, also gender, also position in the job position, and also we involve a Down syndrome person. So at the end, the different participants were a really a mix of the society that or representing the society in Spain, and with this diverse criteria that we fix. One relevant issue is that we didn't pay any money to the participants, because at the end what we were pursuing was the participation in order to improve the society and to improve the life in 2030. And we sent an email to all the selected participants, a set of elderly people that we called them for saying that they were a participant in the workshop. Here you can see the different posters and invitations of the workshop. Here at the bottom you can see that we have mentioned the two workshops, because the idea for this workshop was to keep all the participants for the first and the second workshop. And well, here is the confirmation of the participation in the first workshop, and or other confirmation. Well, and I will pass the floor to Julian in order to he will explain the workshop work. Thank you.
Hi, Julian. I'm not sure you're talking already, but we cannot hear if that's the case. We could see.
I think I'm in.
Perfect. Yes,
okay, so sorry. It's something needed to activate the microphone. Hello, good morning, everybody. This is Julian. I will try to share with you the practical, or I say the reality we lived in the workshop. And I think the best way is just to share with you how we structured the workshop. And I'm going to review with all of you the agenda we had, right? I take the chance to be one person of the team playing the role of facilitator. So we structured the workshop in four main phases. We have the presentation of the participants. You mean, as Luis said before, we have a mix of different kind of people, young people, older people, people working, unemployed. So we tried with this first phase to get an environment to all the people feel comfortable and feel all together doing and building a group. Afterwards, in the second phase, we try to pass them all of them the messages about the what's an innovation process, the responsibility around the project, why they were here, trying to illustrate them in what they were called to do. Afterwards, we had real work. I mean, we start discussing, chatting, sharing, really was really fun and really practical. I will give you more deep details afterwards. And with the main objective on the fourth part of the fourth phase of the seminar, just to give up some conclusions. We was some conclusions really re really concrete conclusions by the end of the workshops. So we had a very lovely welcome and coffee, courtesy by Telefonica, with some small sweets and something like that, some juice, and this allowed us to introduce all the people. Afterwards, I'm going to work with the next slide because we have some images, right? In the presentation, we use a specific dynamic that we use those green balls using on the bottom left of the screen with some messages. This was some balls that some people with Down syndrome prepare for us. And the dynamic is with the all together, the up to 16 people that compose the grid group. We throw one ball to each people, and they have to introduce themselves by saying the name and I will say three top things about them. I'm clever, I'm a student, something like that, right? So in the photo, you can see me is the one with the biggest stomach in blue. And that was the group I was working with facilitators. Afterwards, I came back to this, right? So once we present everybody themselves, and we know very well about us. We divide, and after the leaving official presentation about the work and the objectives of the day, we divide into two subgroups. We get two teams of 8 people. We introduce ourselves, facilitators, and define the subgroup activity. So this phase in the real world, what we tried is first, let's think about the present. What do we do presently, today? So we launch the question, what did you yesterday, right? So we start thinking about our daily way of life. And we start to write down, make a list, big list for sure, of what we did, right? Um, there was one routine we used from the beginning, named the Duke of York. I don't know if you know this. This is one dynamic that allow us to make a coordination between group. This is a small story that all the people repeats are up to 10 lines. There was a Duke of York that command 1,000 soldiers. They were them up, they were them down. And we do the movements with the people to stand up on the chair and down, but all together. So at the beginning it's very, very crazy, but finally everybody works in a coordinated way. So this allows us to start working and thinking in those routines for 2019, right? So in the second part, by the end, we document, I will say we document this with some bullets, and we put bullets in the wallet, and we make some wall panels with a lot of papers in colors, and we get what we do in 2019. And afterwards, we make one really sympathetic dynamic, that is, we teletransport all the people. You know, we are in the technology era, so we teletransport the people. So in the photo with my group, you can see we change the way we close our eyes, just giving the back to the table, and think we are using the last technology to teletransport in time people. It's something like Return to the Future, something machine like that. So once we get the climax about the future, we go ahead with what do you think you will do one common day in 2030? So here all people start with their imagination to think about all of these things. And we also get a list, put our bullets, and finally the target was, okay, we get some routines in 2019, we get some routines already for the 2030, one group and the other. So we have to sell the other group our ideas in order to simplify the final result. So we have up to 10 for 2019, up to 10 in 2030, and we need to reduce for 3 for 2019 and 3 for 2020. And that was the final results. Just to share with you, for 2019, this was a resume. We get, for example, detailed routines like I wake up, I sleep, I, for example, go to work, I go to the gym, everybody makes gym, and I go shopping, I read, I make banking, all of these things. But the final results after that, I will say, fight between the two groups was for 2019, we identified communication. It's really important for our groups and our participants to keep the communication between people. So we need to improve this communication. Uh, a really big concern is to go and to stay at work. How I go to work, there were something like sharing transport, something like that. Some really good ideas between them. And of course, daily routines. I say I cook, I wake up, I dress me up, I wash myself, I have a shower. So all those daily routines are really present in the life of these people. And for 2030, the conclusion was, first of all, to keep the physical contact between people. They make some good thinking, some thoughts about all of this, because I don't want to speak with machines. I don't want to see you. No, I want to touch you. I want to kiss you. All of these kinds. And for sure, the holistic optimization. We need to have a whole vision of every component. We have to produce some solutions with the whole vision of the problems, not just a piece of the problem. And finally, there was really a big concern about the ethics and the respect of all these kind of technologies. The IoT, we can think about it. We see in the news every day that all the data about people are being processing just to sell our data or something like that. They are really concerned, our participants that were really concerned about the ethics and how technology will respect humans, right? So I think this was the main conclusion. I finished. I pass once again the power to Luis. Please, Teresa, and he's going to finish.
Okay, hello again. Talking about next steps of this workshop, yes. this is the creation process that we defined at the very beginning. What we decided is to test new ways of co-creating, and new ways are in this case longer than usually we do. After this first workshop in Madrid, we will run a second workshop in Madrid by the end of September with the same participants of this first workshop. The input for this second workshop will be the results of the first workshop. And as Julian has mentioned, we are keeping the contact with all the participants in order to engage during this summer period that is perhaps is a little bit longer than expected, but we are or we have great expectations on the results in the second workshop. And then in October we will run a workshop in Barcelona. For Barcelona we will iterate only one time, and this workshop in Barcelona we will base or the input for this workshop will be based on the first results in this first workshop in Madrid. So what we want to do is to align, let's say, the two workshops in the way of they will receive both the inputs of this first workshop in Madrid. The idea is to validate expectations. The second workshop will be run in Barcelona in the Cosmo Caixa. That our the partner La Caixa Foundation, that is partner of this living project, will propose to do there, and this is a nice space for running this case. And we are now in the process of recruiting people in Barcelona and organizing all the different tasks. And I think it's all from my side. I hope you enjoyed the presentation, the results, and we are here for any questions that you have. And we are expecting, as I said, what will happen with this new methodology, because if at the end the results are nice, we will try to introduce the methodology of evaluation. And also the goal for us, for Telefonica, is to get information of these new routines, these new IoT services that could be offered by 2030. We hope that we can validate this expectation. Thank you.
Thank you very much to you, Luis, Julian, and Rainer, for your very informative presentation. We've already had a few questions coming in from the audience, but please continue to write them in the chat box. We are running a little bit behind schedule, so we're going to try to be short, but I think the Q&A is the most interesting part as well. So I'm just going to start with the first question. I think this is directed to you, Luis. Did participants understand what responsible innovation is and the co-creation concept, or didn't they really care about it? Didn't they really care about theory, so to say? What's your thoughts on that?
Sorry, I was mute. What we did is try not to mention what is at the end IoT, because sorry, the question was about RRI or IoT?
Yeah, about RRI first. So there's another
Sorry
question
for
related to
that.
IoT later.
I was reading the chat and sorry for that. Well, we mentioned what is RRI for us during the workshop, but what we detect after the evaluation was that we need for the second workshop in Madrid and for the first or the only one workshop that we were running in Barcelona to spend a little bit more time explaining what is RRI and what we would like to do is to explain what is RRI for Telefonica. That is in the ADN, in the DNA of any innovation process.
Thank you. Another question that came in that might be more for Rainer or for Julian. What are the top 3 recommendations that you would give to someone who plans a co-creation workshop with citizens? So what that you would give to industry when planning a co-creation workshop with citizens?
Who should start? Should I?
Yeah, please.
Okay, you thought about 3 recommendations and I want to keep it really short. I think the main thing you need to think about is one is what possible impact we want to achieve. So if there is no impact with the workshop, don't start engaging citizen or lead users. So think about, is there an impact we can reach and be open to this innovation? This is the second recommendation I would give. And think about the structure and the process. How should it happen and be open to include maybe some experience and some ideas that doesn't seem like obvious things. So be open to all ideas and play with the methods co-creation, design thinking, and engagement gives you. Thank you.
Thank you. Another question that came in and that can be linked to another question is about if you think that for the participants, it was a good experience to think about how they use today the technology. And this can be also linked to another question about the privacy issues and the data protection. Was that a topic that was really important for the participants? And was it a concern that they had?
Oh, maybe this is Julian or Luis. I don't know. Maybe
No,
just
please.
a small contribution. I think really this was a good experience to think about how they use technology and what they really do to give in consideration or to have in consideration each of us what we do a day is an exercise that I invite all of you to do because sometimes you get really surprised because there are something that happens in our lives that we don't take care because it's absolutely automatic. And these kind of things are absolutely relevant. And in the data protection is a very huge area to speak about it. But I think that technology cannot help citizens to have the right menu for having lunch or to feel more comfortable going at work or listen exactly the music I would like because I am a little sad without sharing information with something. I always, when I speak about this kind of resources, I speak about something. Something is somewhere, someplace in the cloud, I don't know, but really gives me some value as a person.
Thank you. We're going to do 2 more questions before we close the webinar. So another question was, I think specifically for you, Luis. Usually Telefonica pays for getting feedback from users. So in this case, you mentioned that you didn't pay the participants. So how difficult was it for you to involve the people?
Well, it was a challenge and this is something that we were discussing inside the different living partners, also with Rainer that is here. We proposed to let's say to challenge in this situation, and at the end was a little bit difficult, but was not impossible. At the end, we needed to have 14 participants, and we had 20. So we have to discard some of them. So at the end, what we see is, and this is interesting, is that if you communicate in the same way, in the right way, what we will do and what the objectives, it seems that people is desiring to be involved and to contribute in order to create a better society and to cover or to have new services that could cover the necessities that we will have in the future.
Thank you. And we're going to do one more question. Was diversity of participants a problem to run the workshop? And how was your experience with the mix of age from the different participants?
Well, I think that Julian could be.
Yeah. For me, it was absolutely a pretty nice experience because we have elderly women with some health disease, and we have students. But once the group has been joined, I would say work together and know clearly what to speak about, everything went absolutely fluently. Of course, the point of view of a 70 years old woman is different from a lady who is 21 with all the life lived and all the life to be lived. But in terms of shared experience, something like that was really, really funny. I will say that everybody in the room, we have an electronic door that needs to be open to push a button. So when we that's absolutely one joke. When we were outside for the bathroom, we didn't know how to get in once again into the room, and the eldest lady say, "Oh, someone gives me the intelligent card." So I put the card, and she opened the door. All of us called by telephone someone inside just to say, "Please open me the door." So it was really funny, but this was absolutely a good example of how everything went into the groups.
So thank you very much to the participants for your questions. We are sorry for running a bit behind schedule, but thank you also to you, Luis, Julian, and Rainer, for sharing your knowledge with us today. We will be answering the questions that couldn't be answered today. We will be answering them in an article and sending it together with the recording of this webinar in the following weeks. So please stay in touch, and we will visit us on our website, and you will receive the follow-up of all this webinar. Thank you all for joining us today. I hope you enjoyed it, and I wish you all a great rest of your day.